Alrighty, so today I want to talk to you guys about this kind of interesting thing that used to be a whole lot more popular. I thought it was much more popular a couple of years ago, and then it kind of disappeared, and now it's coming back. This concept of billing through utility bundles or having an all bills paid property. We already kind of know the stigma attached with having those billing methods in place. If you're managing a multifamily community, we're all aware of it, the stigma that's associated with what that says about the property. But what we rarely talk about, since it's gained some more traction over the past 6 months, honestly, what we haven't talked about is what does it mean for your utility exposure? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, because it's important. We need to be aware that if we're choosing to transition an allocated property to an all bills paid property, my cost to use water, gas, electricity as a property is not changing. I am still owing the utility company the same amount. What's changing is how I'm billing my residents. So what's important as a management company or as an ownership group is to make sure that my billing method is changing, my exposure shouldn't change either. If I'm recovering 95% of my utilities as an allocated or RUBS property, then I should be also recovering 95% of my utility exposure as an all bills paid property. Now, your next question should be, and if it's not, here it is, this is what it should be. Well, how do I know, right? My exposure changes. Some months my bills are higher than others. If it's summertime, I can almost guarantee you that your water bill is going to be higher. If you map out when spring break is and when winter break is for the school during the school year for students, you can almost guarantee that your bill is going to be higher for those periods. I live in Texas, so the higher it gets, the higher your electricity bill is going to be. But it's kind of a moving target all year, right? So the risk in going from a property where utilities are rubbed through to a property that is all bills paid or passing through a utility bundle, the risk is I'm increasing my exposure to my utilities in those fluctuating months, where those months where my normal is kind of the outlier. There's normally 2 or 3 months during the year where it's like whoo, and it's seasonal changes. So here's what I wanted to tell you guys to be aware of, and something to consider if you haven't done it already, is if you're considering transitioning from an allocated billing method to an all bills paid billing method, what I would do is I would map out 12 months of historical utility consumption data. If you'd like help doing this, I'm happy to help. Please just reach out. This is part of that whole troubleshooting process that I get to do, it's just so much fun to me, is how do we bring more value to properties and how do we make more money on them? They're not my properties, but I am stupid passionate about making money and helping others make money, and this is how I do it. I think it's that entrepreneur streak in me that I just got blessed with. But anyway, this is what I would do. This is what I currently do, and I would recommend to you. I get 12 months of historical utility consumption data. Notice I said consumption. We'll talk about cost in a second. Let's get some consumption data for all the utilities you're passing through: water, gas, electricity. Water, gas, electricity. And sometimes properties have like a natural gas line item. It's kind of a rarity though, so we'll just stick with regular gas, electricity, and water. I get 12 months of utility consumption data for those different line items, and I map it all out. I throw it in Excel, I make a cute little graph with it, and I see, okay, well, where are my spikes? Where am I plateauing? What are my highs and what are my lows when it comes to exposure? And then what I would do is I would get 12 months of billing detailed billing data in regard to those utilities and what am I passing through to my residents. And then I would connect those highs and those lows in regards to the monthly exposure that you're just feeling and like just on a consumption basis as a property, I'd map those points to the monthly billing reports that you've also pulled at this point, and check what was I billing through to my tenants during these spikes in consumption. What were they used to getting? And I would make sure to account for those spikes whenever I create my utility bundle, my all bills paid line item, so on and so forth. I would make sure to take into account those outliers before I just willy-nilly throw an amount out there for my properties to begin, or for my residents to start paying, instead of paying for water, gas, electricity, blah, 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 blah. Before I consolidate it, I want to make sure that I'm recovering the same amount I would be recovering if I was an allocated property. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. My point here is, and this is why I'm talking about this, is I have a property that I work with that it's on the coast, and they transitioned from allocated to all bills paid, and they didn't account for their utility exposure in enough depth as what they probably should have. And now they're feeling it. And there's nothing we can do because leases were signed, amounts were approved, and there's an expectation now within that community and the audience that property serves that this is what you pay. And leases reflect that amount. New tenants are expecting that amount. And so it's hard that the brand that is built around this property would be affected if we, transitioned them to a different all bills paid amount so quickly. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a process to make sure that they are recovering as much as possible going forward. These were changes made with the previous billing partner, though, and that's why I want to caution you, is because from my experience, what I've noticed is it's easy to pull the trigger on, we'll just change charges upon move-ins and renewals, but it's harder but necessary to make sure that if you're going to change your charges to a flat fee structure, that you are recovering just as much, if not more, than what you originally were whenever you were allocating on a monthly basis. Just something to keep in mind and be aware of as you go into 2019. Bringing value is the goal, but maximizing utility recovery is the mission. And if we're not doing that, then we are way off our goal. Even if you're not using, my company as a third-party billing partner, you just as a property owner or manager, you are way off your goal if you are not maximizing your recovery. Minimize utility exposure. That is the name of the game. It doesn't matter if you're in billing. It doesn't matter if you work for a utility company. It doesn't matter if you are, a leasing assistant or an assistant manager or the owner. Period, at the end of the day, for all of us, the goal within multifamily is to bring value and minimize exposure. We want our communities to be profitable. We want them to create revenue. We want to be able to pay our people. We want to be able to grow and bring more value to more assets. This is how we do it. We become efficient. This is a way that you can become efficient. Hope this brought you guys value.